Hey everybody, how's it going? It's the Daily Shooter, and today I have a warning for Second Amendment supporters in the state of California. Last month, September 2019, Gavin Newsom received several gun control bills on his desk. They are sitting there waiting to be signed, and we're going to talk about three important ones here today. This channel is proud to be supported by the Firearms Policy Coalition. Make sure you check that link in the description box, become a member, and donate when you can. And follow them here on YouTube. Subscribe to their YouTube channel because they have a great show called Coffee with Craig where you can actually watch and see exactly what the Firearms Policy Coalition is up to, see what their stance is on different things, get legislative updates. I mean, it really is a great show where you can sit down and you can learn about everything that the Firearms Policy Coalition has going on and whether or not we're making headway on any of this stuff. So thank you very much, Firearms Policy Coalition, for supporting the channel and for supporting the Second Amendment in the United States of America. Thank you very much to Spartan Arms as well for supporting the channel, and the rest of the companies that you see on the safe right here. Make sure you guys head over there and be a patron. Now, I've made videos about all these in the past as they were kind of making their way through the California state legislature. These are all bad. I'm not saying that, only these three are bad and the rest of them are not so bad. These are just the three that we're going to be covering today because honestly, with all the gun control bills that went up to Gavin Newsom's desk recently, we could spend an entire week talking about all of them. So I just kind of handpicked three of them that I wanted to tell you guys about. These are ones that I think are fairly serious. The first one we're going to talk about is SB 61. You guys might remember this if you've followed the channel for a while. But this is the one that basically says that Californians are going to be restricted to purchasing only one firearm in total per 30 days. That's it. One firearm per 30 days. So currently in the state of California, if we want to buy a handgun, you're limited to one per 30 days. But if you wanted to buy a lower receiver, if you wanted to buy a rifle, shotgun, or something like that, you can buy as many as you want within any given time period. Well, they want to restrict you even further now by saying, look, you can only have one total application in 30 days. If you happen to buy a lower, that's it. You have that lower and you have to wait 30 days. And this is not 30 days from the time you do the application, believe it or not. It's 30 days from the moment you receive the firearm before you can sign the new application. That's my understanding at least. So you have a 10-day waiting period in California. Once you pick it up, you have to wait 30 days now before you can pick up something else. So I guess the math works out. Nonetheless, they're trying to stop you from buying more than one firearm every 30 days. This passed the Senate, it passed the Assembly, and it went up to Gavin Newsom's desk on September 17th of 2019. So it's sitting there and it's waiting for him to sign it. Now, this is one of those things where obviously there's going to be lawsuits that are going to follow it should he actually sign this bill. But given the fact that there was such big support for it in the California legislature, I mean, this passed with a huge majority that I feel like there is a pretty good potential for Gavin Newsom to sign it. And so that could be a big issue for people in California being limited to one firearm. So if you go out there and you want to buy a shotgun and you want to buy a handgun, there's no way you can do that within a 30-day period. Again, it's one application for every 30 days. So this is something, again, we need to make sure that we stay on top of. You need to call, you need to voice your opposition to this. Even if you think it's not going to do anything, just give them a call. Just let them know that you are against SB 61. Now, another very serious one is going to be AB 879. This is one that I've been talking about for quite some time now. This one even took me by surprise when I first heard about it. It was just kind of rumor before it was even filed. 879 was sent up to the governor's desk on September 11th, 2019. What AB 879 is, it is the firearm precursor parts restriction. Now, if you guys remember me talking about this, basically what California wants to do is they want to essentially eliminate anything going directly to your house. They want to eliminate your access to assembling a firearm or even upgrading a firearm for that matter. So what they want to do is, right now currently if you want to get ammunition, you have to go through an ammunition vendor or a licensed FFL. If you want to get a serialized part like a lower, a frame or something like that, you have to go through an FFL. They want to add pretty much everything else to that list where you would have to go through an FFL. So if you want to get a barrel, if you want to get a trigger assembly, if you want to get a buffer tube, a buffer spring, if you want any of these parts that you can use to simply assemble a firearm, if this passes, if the governor actually signs it, you'll have to go through an FFL for all that stuff. So instead of seeing this Glock slide and you want to go to this website, pick it up, you pay your money, have it shipped to the house, and then you just put it on the serialized frame that you already went through your background check for, now they want you to go to an FFL in order to make that transaction so that nothing would actually be shipped to your house. And they're calling these precursor parts basically anything that you would need to assemble a fully functional firearm. So again, this is a very, very bad one. They're trying to basically cut out any way where you could make any modification to your firearm without having to first put some type of footprint in their knowledge, okay, so that they have access to know exactly what you've done, what you bought, what you own. They want records of absolutely everything. So they're making you go to the FFL where they can basically follow that footprint right back to you. So we're basically taking registration to an entire new level in the state of California if Governor Newsom signs this. Now, the last one that we're going to talk about today, sitting on Gavin Newsom's desk, is going to be SB 172. 172, if you ask me, is another part of California's scheme to add laws that create a prohibition on owning firearms. If you notice in California over the last 10 years, it has been really, really difficult because what California has done is they've expanded how many laws would be enforceable as a prohibition against owning firearms. So before, the felonies were basically what it was. If you were a felon, if you were convicted of a felony, then you would lose your right to own a firearm. But California, in its infinite wisdom, has expanded that to certain misdemeanors and even further on than that. Well, this particular Senate bill is basically designed to expand on that by saying that anybody who is found guilty of breaking the law regarding storage of firearms or safe storage of firearms when children are likely to gain access to that firearm, while they'd be convicted of a misdemeanor, they want to expand on that punishment by saying that if that person is found guilty of that, then they would have a 10-year prohibition on owning firearms. So, for instance, let me give you guys a quick example. If I have a loaded firearm and I take that and I put it right here on top of my safe, and I have a reasonable understanding that a child, if there's a child in my home, could gain access to that, and I'm found guilty of that, okay, the child doesn't even have to gain access. Let's just say that somebody in your house has a heart attack, the police and firefighters show up because you called 911 and they notice that you have this around and there's, a 9-year-old upstairs or something like that. They could actually charge you with this because you should have reasonable knowledge that they could just step on a stool, grab this, and off they go. Well, instead of just being charged with a misdemeanor for having that out, they want to take that misdemeanor, expand it, and basically prohibit you from owning firearms for the next 10 years. So again, it's just another expansion of what laws, what rules that you break that California has deemed necessary to basically take away your Second Amendment rights. If you ask me, the Second Amendment being such an important right, and all of the rights in our Bill of Rights being such important rights, should really be, there should be something absolutely major before those rights are even considered to be taken away. Could you imagine saying that if somebody had something like this set up, that you were going to take away their First Amendment rights for the next 10 years? Their freedom of speech is now gone. Nobody would tolerate it. Nobody would stand up for it. There would be riots in the street and people would be up in arms all day long if you said that you were going to take away somebody's First Amendment rights for simply, a misdemeanor. If that was the case, then, I think things would be a lot different, but because it's the Second Amendment, somehow it seems to be okay by a lot of people, and I really don't understand that myself. Our rights in the Bill of Rights should all be treated equally, not like one is more important than the other, or the other one, because other people don't like it, is not treated as fairly. It's just a complete mess. So again, before you trample on somebody's Second Amendment rights because of a misdemeanor, there should be something pretty major there. And while I do agree that allowing children access to loaded firearms is a really, really bad idea, and it could lead to somebody getting hurt, and we need to make sure that, we take care of our firearms and we're not irresponsible with them, I think, again, if you're charged with a misdemeanor, you should have a misdemeanor punishment, not a punishment of losing your Second Amendment rights. Now, one thing you want to try and remember is that you're not going to sway public opinion in states that have just an overwhelming number of people who don't understand the Second Amendment. Okay, so in California, in Massachusetts, and New York, there are an overwhelming number of people who want gun control, and they vastly outnumber those people who are pro-Second Amendment. So really, it's going to be nearly impossible to sway public opinion. So the best way to attack these things right now is through the court system. Okay, there are specific laws that are written on paper, and that allows us to go and fight against these things. So make sure that you donate to people like the Firearms Policy Coalition and whatever gun group that you feel is necessary to you, and that if you're going to basically put your money where your mouth is, make sure that it's going to somebody who's actually going to fight for you and not somebody who's just going to pay this exorbitant salary to one of their CEOs or something like that. Make sure that the money is going back into the fight for what we want, which is our rights back, our rights restored, you know, our Second Amendment to be treated the way that the First Amendment and the Fourth Amendment and the Fifth Amendment are. You know, this is what we need to do. We need to make sure that we can fight back in the court system right now to have a lot of this stuff overturned. And I think you guys would be surprised at how many lawsuits are going through the court systems right now, fighting back about just about every single law that has been put on the books in favor of gun control. I mean, it's winding its way through all the circuit courts right now. The Supreme Court is not hearing Second Amendment cases. They're hearing like one in the last 12 years or something like that. So, you know, we need to make sure that we just continue to fight and we bombard the Supreme Court with all these cases until they finally have to take at least one of them to understand that, look, the people out here are having their Second Amendment rights trampled on. So make sure you donate to these gun groups, put your money where your mouth is, and do what you can to fight back. If you don't have money, that's fine. Think about another way. You know, donate your time. Get out there, sign petitions, give away petitions, whatever you can. If you have a free weekend or a free day, get out there and do something else. If you don't have the money, it's totally understandable. Otherwise, you know, maybe help support the people that are hiring all these lawyers and putting them up there to try and fight on our behalf. So I want to thank you all very much for watching. I'll try and do another video on some of the other bills that have hit Gavin Newsom's desk. But be prepared. This is stuff that could come down very, very soon with the decision.